Well, we have plenty of news items to get to today. We've got milestones, we've got player signings, and an update related to the upcoming OHL priority selection. So we'll get to all that, but first, let's start things off in London, where Easton Cowan, the Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, has extended his point streak to 34 games. That now sets a new franchise record for the London Knights. On Sunday against the Windsor Spitfires, he earned 2 assists in that game and passes David Gilmour for the most points in consecutive games in London Knights history. Also, with 34 games, that ties Trevor Letowski for the second longest point streak in OHL history over the last 30 years. He's still got a ways to go to catch Bill Bowler. He was over 50 games, but still a remarkable run here for Easton Cowan. Over the 34 games, he's registered 23 goals, 41 assists, good for 64 points. And the London Knights, their record during that time, 26-5-1-2. So great job by Easton Cowan. The Knights, they only have 2 games left on the regular season schedule. They're going to be playing against the Guelph Storm and the Windsor Spitfires. And I would think the London Knights still trying to secure the #1 seed in the Western Conference standings. And then with Easton Cowan's point streak, I would expect London not to let up. They'll obviously play Cowan, try to extend that point streak. And if you can get a point in the game Friday against Guelph, then he would have the second longest point streak in OHL history. So continue to follow that. It's pretty neat to see what Easton Cowan's been able to do with the London Knights this season. And that's a strong London team in the West that if they can get that top spot in the Western Conference, then they'll have top spot throughout the playoffs. And that Western Conference playoff bracket, it looks pretty intense when you've got those top 4 teams, London, Saginaw, Sault Ste. Marie, and Kitchener, all looking to have deep runs. And I can't wait. And I'm sure as junior hockey fans, you're pretty excited yourself. Another milestone that was broken was Stan Butler, the head coach of the Erie Otters. He registered his 800th career win in the Canadian Hockey League. You'll remember Stan Butler. He was the head coach of the North Bay Battalion, the Brampton Battalion, and he also spent some time with the Prince George Cougars. So when you break down the winning streak, 772 of those wins were in the Ontario Hockey League, so with Brampton, North Bay, and Erie. And he is only, if I'm reading this correctly, he is the 4th head coach in Canadian Hockey League history to reach 800 wins as a head coach. So big congratulations going to Stan Butler. And there's one moment when I was with the Sudbury Wolves broadcast in the playoffs, we would always interview the head coach of the opposing team to get a sense of what what to expect from their team going into the playoffs. And I had the chance to interview Stan Butler a couple of times when the Wolves met. And the one time he had his feet up on his desk, no socks on, no shoes on, barefoot, so chill, laid back, but he didn't want to do the interview. He passed it on to Ryan Ullahan, who's the assistant coach at the time. This was down at the Powerade Center in Brampton. And I think Stan Butler still goes down as probably one of the more intimidating interviews I've ever done. But once you get to know him and you meet him in the press room, he loves to just tell stories, and he tells it like it is. But Stan Butler doing a great job with the Erie Otters organization. And of course, the Otters getting ready for the playoffs this year. First time they'll be in the postseason since 2017. And Stan Butler continuing to get the job done at the junior hockey level. So congratulations to him on 800 CHL wins as a head coach. Now into some signing news. The Dallas Stars, they continue to sign players from the Ontario Hockey League. First, they signed Connor Punnett from the Oshawa Generals. That was a couple weeks ago. And then last week, Justin Ertl from the North Bay Battalion. He signed with Dallas. Now it's Tristan Bertucci. He has signed his NHL entry-level contract. Bertucci, he was a second-round draft pick of the Dallas Stars in the 2023 NHL entry draft. Right now playing in his 3rd season with the Flint Firebirds. He has been a key piece in Flint's bounce back. The Firebirds, one of the competitive teams going into the postseason. They're sitting 8th right now in the West. They still have a shot at 5th because 2 points separate the 5th place team from the 8th. And this season in 58 games for Bertucci, 9 goals, 34 assists, good for 53 points. He is just great at those breakout passes, getting the puck out of the zone and creating those odd man rushes. So Bertucci, expect to see him in the NHL at some point with the Dallas Stars. And at the time of the recording, he's right now riding a 4-game point streak. He's been the reason this Flint Firebirds team has been competitive because it's Flint. They're right now on a 4-game point streak themselves. So we'll keep an eye on the Flint Firebirds, see what they can do as they get set for their final weekend of the OHL regular season. And there was one other signing announced yesterday. Rasmus Kumpalainen of the Oshawa Generals has signed with the Minnesota Wild. Kumpalainen, he's been having a solid year with the Oshawa Generals. Of course, this is just his first season with Oshawa. He was selected 13th overall in the CHL import draft last offseason, and he's been fitting in very well in the North American system. He's a great two-way forward. He's got the size. He's got 28 goals, 27 assists, good for 55 points in 56 games, so just shy of a point per game pace. The Finnish native, I think he's going to fit in great with Minnesota. He is a large two-way centerman standing at 6'3". You can tell when he's out on the ice, especially you've got Dylan Robrick playing for Oshawa. Robrick and Kumpalainen, they're like two towers out there for the Oshawa Generals. So congratulations to Kumpalainen signing that contract. I know there's questions about whether or not he comes back to Oshawa next year because he was drafted out of Finland and then came to the CHL. So he is eligible to go to the American Hockey League next season, but that is up to the Minnesota Wild. They'll figure out where they would like to see him play. And I think if he goes back to Oshawa, expect him to have another big season for the Generals next year. And speaking about drafts and everything, we now know when the OHL Draft Lottery will be taking place. The playoffs, they start next week. So the OHL's 2024 Draft Lottery selection will take place on Wednesday. And of course, it's going to be weighted odds based on the final standings. As it stands right now, if the season ended today, the Niagara Ice Dogs, they would have the best odds of winning the Draft Lottery at 40%. Followed by the Windsor Spitfires, who have a 30% chance. The Peterborough Petes would then have a 20% chance of winning the first overall pick. And then Sarnia, they have the lowest odds at 10%. So it's just 4 teams in the draw for the draft lottery. So Niagara, Windsor, Peterborough, and Sarnia. And they'll do the draft live. The OHL is going to be posting that. And we'll find out who gets to pick first overall. Last year, it was the Erie Otters who won the draft lottery. They had the second best odds of winning the lottery, and they ended up picking Matthew Schaefer first overall. And the Niagara Ice Dogs, they had the best odds of winning last year and then ended up dropping to number 2, although they picked up Ryan Robrick. So I think they're pretty happy with their draft selection, but still, do the Ice Dogs lose out on back-to-back draft lotteries? We'll have to wait and see on Wednesday. I haven't seen any of the draft-eligible players. I'm just going from hearsay from what I've been hearing, but it does sound like this is going to be a pretty good draft for the OHL. So even if you're drafting within the top 10 or even later rounds, it sounds like there's a lot of talent that's coming up into the system, which is exciting to see. Adam Valentini from the Toronto Marlboros sounds like he is the favorite to go number 1, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm hoping that we can get an interview done with somebody associated with the draft rankings to get them on, talk about some of the upcoming players and the talent, and we'll go from there. So that's the news item video for today. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on the draft lottery, the milestones, or a couple of the signings. I'll also be posting a video soon about the 2 winning streaks in the Eastern Conference, the Oshawa Generals and the Mississauga Steelheads. So make sure you hit subscribe so you'll be notified about when that video is up on the channel. So again, thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.